Greetings, my name is Jeff Long, and welcome back to the Death Taxes and Sports Podcast, now part of the Sideline Sports Network. We're excited to bring you the 53rd episode here tonight. I'm here with several of my co-hosts, Mr. Gary Johnson and Ben Holloway. How are you guys doing?
Can't complain. Gentlemen, how's everybody tonight?
Doing fantastic, man. I mean, it's only one game. We will certainly get there, but one game looked good. And this is Deion Sanders for anybody who's curious. And I will preface it right now before we get there. One game.
That's wonderful.
One game.
That's
Jeff,
wonderful.
proceed, sir.
That's wonderful. No one really cares. That's great.
Continue on, sir.
Yes. But Mr. Gary Johnson, you gave me a nice wedding present. Thank you for that. If I had just changed the tight ends or something, I mean, to lose by 2 points,
understand that I got -2 points from my kicker. I got 0 points from Rondale Moore because he got hurt. So, that one was as much of a nail biter and a needed victory for me. I'm back over 500, so very, very proud of myself for that victory. Sorry it had to happen as part of your wedding gift, but I'm out here trying to defend my belt. We're going for number 4 this year.
That's great. That's wonderful. No one cares. Hey, you got it. It's kind of exciting. But anyway,
some of us have. Yes, congratulations. Everybody, let's congratulate Brother Jeff on becoming one of us, betrothed, married.
Yes.
I'm sorry I could not be there, but I'm very happy for you. I saw you. It was a beautiful wedding, beautiful day. I'm happy for you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. It was good that Ben was there. I hadn't seen that guy since 2011. Literally on my mother's birthday in 2011 when I graduated, and see this guy finally again after 11 years. So shows your social media.
Yeah, man. It was sorry. That was I want to say this real quick and then we can proceed. That was an amazing wedding. And I've talked to you off air and we're gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so let's get to some sports, right? So tonight we're going to discuss some of the biggest games in NFL this weekend, reveal our power rankings, and as well as do our weekly fantasy football segment. But importantly, we want to thank everyone who's joining us live, and feel free to comment or ask questions. We'll do our absolute best to respond and answer your questions. If we missed them and you want it answered, feel free to send a direct message. So we definitely want to give a little bit of housekeeping things there. So
yes, real quick, Jeff, if I may.
Sunshine.
Real quick, 30 seconds. The importance of that for anyone who is listening is we value your opinion. We value what you're saying, and we want to comment and get to everything that you say. If we don't, send us a message and we'll answer the question. Proceed.
Yes, proceed. Awesome. So, week 11, a lot of some exciting things, and I know that normally I ask questions, but kind of in the pre-planning, there was actually some good games I really want to focus on. And so, Mr. Cheesy Cowboys fan over there, Ben the Cowgirls Holloway, let's just give you the floor, sir, and talk about that lovely, beautiful drubbing. 40.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try and be brief. And believe it or not, you guys are probably surprised by that, but I'm really going to try and be brief. And then I'm going to let you guys respond, and then I'll go from there. First off, let's pretend Joe down the street didn't watch this game, doesn't even know the game happened, and you want to explain to him what happened without telling him the teams involved, right? Let's work with me here. If you tell him that on third down, one team was 12 for 17, one team was 1 for 11. You tell him one team had 458 yards. Tell him the other team had 183 yards. And on top of that, even though it wasn't by much, one team had a turnover, the other team didn't have a turnover. If you watch football, even if you've watched football for 1 week, you can tell me, based on those three things, you know exactly who won that game. That's just the facts. And I want to address one other thing before I turn to you guys, because what you guys think and what you guys say, let's be clear. You guys already know this. Everybody else, I love them. Everything. It's all good. I want to say this. Everyone has said and is saying the Vikings prior to this game, let's pretend this game didn't happen for a second. They were, 8-1, right? 8-1. They just beat Buffalo, who Buffalo, they've struggled a bit lately, right? But as quick as 3 weeks ago, they were the betting favorite in Vegas. So they were the Super Bowl favorite. I know 3 weeks is a little bit of a change, but there's still definitely, I'm not looking at Vegas, but there's still definitely a top 5 betting favorite. That's 100% true. Minnesota goes to Buffalo. Forget the Josh Allen injury, okay? Josh Allen played this week and last week exactly like Josh Allen. There was nothing that was different. His elbow might be really, really sore throughout the entire game, but he played exactly the same last week and this week. So the injury for Josh Allen, can't say that had anything to do with Minnesota winning that game. So, point is, Minnesota wins that game. And say all you want about Minnesota's record being inflated and the fact that they haven't had impressive wins, meaning they haven't had blowout wins. And they were 8-1 prior to Dallas game. All of that is true, right? We can agree that they hadn't beaten anybody by a ton of points. They were winning a ton of close games. And on top of that, they had their one loss before Dallas was a beatdown. Not as bad as this one. Not as bad, but it was a beatdown. And they lost to the Eagles. And I swear, next is going to you. I got one other thing I want to say. I'm going to let you guys respond, and I do have one more thing that I have to say. Minnesota, we can say their record was inflated. They're not as good as their record. We can also, I can almost guarantee you agree, they have one of the best 7 tight ends in the NFL. Before the show, literally was like 1, 2, 3. Because at first I was like, wait, is he really top 7? And then I counted, like, yeah, he is. So TJ Hawkinson is the top 7 tight end. Dalvin Cook is one of the best 5 running backs in the league. Justin Jefferson is possibly the best receiver in the league. Probably, no argument, one of the best 3 receivers in the league. Those 3 players started the game on Sunday. Those 3 players, until it was way out of it, played the entire game. And the score was 40-3. So all of that is true. Go ahead.
Well, I was kind of falling asleep, so there was a lot that was there. But no, I'm kidding. It was just good to see you the other day, man. Just had to give you a little bit of crap. No, man, no, it's all real. I mean, that's real. Gary, what you got?
Ditto. No.
Well, no. For real though, like Gary, definitely say whatever you're gonna say. If you're gonna, if you're gonna talk for 30 seconds or you're gonna talk for 5 minutes, talk. I want to say something, but you go.
You made good points, but no, you covered it. Like,
yeah,
perhaps Minnesota is not as good as what their record dictates, but it's not Minnesota's fault. You play who's in front of you. You got punched in the mouth at home. Kirk Cousins played like Washington Kirk Cousins and not Minnesota Kirk Cousins.
You ain't lying there.
So, like, these are things that it happens. I'm not as panicked because I still think that the Vikings schedule favors them to still end up more than likely as a second seed in the NFC if they, if they don't bottom out and you're actually
that's a product of their horrible division. But continue.
True. That's.
But I agree with you. That's your point, and that's what you're saying. Go ahead.
Yeah, like they are the benefactors of what has become a weak division, and you mentioned TJ Hawkinson. You said he's a top 7. I'm like, he's a top 3.
Yeah,
he's been putting up numbers consistent. Like, it's hard to see the numbers because he's been playing in Detroit, but he's been as consistent of a tight end in the last 5 years as there is. we put Travis Kelce up there on a pedestal. We put up all these other great tight ends, but like, let's not sleep on T.J. Hawkinson. We shit on Detroit for making that trade. Now, granted, Detroit has played much better in the aftermath of the trade,
Yeah,
but
true.
it's like, it's clearly not. T.J. Hawkinson was not the one holding the Detroit Lions back. If anything, he was the one that was keeping them in games, along with, your Amon-Ra St. Browns and their running game.
Yep.
They were a competitive team, and he made them even better. I don't believe that they're better with him gone, but be that as it may, they're winning. Detroit's winning, but going back to Minnesota, yeah,
Right.
This, at the end of the day, this seems. I'm willing to lend credence to being a bad day at the office than a sign of things to come.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give the Vikings a pass on this game. I think that they were past the midway point in the season, right? And I just think that's just sometimes you're just going to have a bad game. Like the Cowboys had a really bad game against my Broncos when we spanked that tail last year, but they still made the playoffs, right? So like it was a bad game. You know what I mean? They kept Justin Jefferson in check. Dalvin Cook really wasn't, so yeah. What's up, buddy?
Sorry, Jeff. Let me just add this in. I want to be extremely clear. Both of you know me that the statement I'm about to make is absolutely true. Let's say, I'm not even going to give a percentage. A lot of Cowboys fans, which is why a lot of people hate the Cowboys, are completely irrational, delusional, like just completely gone.
Like they're way. I haven't heard a lie yet. Go ahead.
They're way far out. So those people, I'm not calling any names. It doesn't matter. We know those people exist. Those people look at the game. We win 40-3. They say Sunday night. They say on Monday, oh, Dallas is going to the Super Bowl. Okay, this is also true. No, you can't have this conversation because we've acknowledged they're irrational. But flip it and work with me. Say they're rational. Say they actually are rational and they believe they're going to the Super Bowl, but they're rational. It's a little bit hard, but work with me. If I ask that person, the Dallas Cowboys, the last time that they made the Super Bowl, not only made the Super Bowl, the last time they played in the NFC Championship game was 1996. Okay, so that was 26. If I'm doing the math right, that was 26 years ago. Okay, so you tell me if you're being rational, like we're pretending the irrational person is rational. So if you know that, and you know that's a fact, because it was 1996. I was less than 10 years old. I'm 35. It was a long time ago. So the point in me saying that, I think I've made the point at this point. Yes, 1996. That was the last time. And they went to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl. Thank you for commenting. The point of me saying that is, let's say Dallas, we go to Thanksgiving, we play the Giants. Giants are a good team. This we can acknowledge. Giants had a horrible loss to the Lions. Horrible. They took a nap. That's exactly what they did. They took a nap. The Lions came out ready, and they whooped their ass. It's as simple as that. I know you can analyze the Lions and Giants game in more detail, but the reality is the Giants were looking towards Thanksgiving to the Cowboys, and the Lions were like, no, we're ready to play right now. Giants weren't ready to play. Lions were. Back to the Cowboys. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. Back to the Cowboys. If we are not ready on Thursday, which is in 2 days now, if we don't come fully ready on Thursday, mark my words right here, right now, the Giants are going to win that game. If we are not ready. If they get cocky, they get look past the Giants for some reason, which would be stupid because it's a division opponent. If they make dumb decisions before the game and in the game, guarantee you the Giants win because Brian Daboll, There was a point where he was coach of the year favorite. He's still top 5. He can't be the favorite right now. He just can't. The way that they've the last month or so, they're still doing well, but he's not the favorite for coach of the year right now. But he's a very good coach. We have only 10 games of evidence, so we can't say, oh well, let's go back 2 years, 3 years. We only got 10 games. He's a rookie. Those 10 games, he's proved at worst, even if you hate the Giants, he's an above average coach. At best, he's a great coach. Great coaches, if you want to say he's great, you want to say he's good, from Sunday in the locker room on Sunday, all the way until the locker room on Thursday, 5 days, whatever that is, he is going to remind that team how bad they played and how much they can't play like that. The Giants may not win that game, and they might actually lose by 14 points and still be fully prepared. They might lose by double digits and still have 100% effort and 100% buy-in, because I can almost guarantee you the Giants on Thursday, if I can't guarantee anything else about that game, which I can't, the Giants are going to give maximum effort on every single play, and that is mainly because Brian Dable. And if we're not ready, Giants are winning the game. Simple as that. Let's go to the next game.
Okay. Thank you for that, Benjamin. That was great. Yeah, man. What about these 49ers versus Cardinals? These 49ers versus Cardinals. I mean, like that's a 38-10 beatdown to those Cardinals. Jimmy G had 4 touchdowns, right?
Yes,
2 to Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. But fun fact, it was the first game played in Mexico City in 2019, but it's happened 5 times. How about a little fun fact for you? Gary, talk to me.
No, I'm very cognizant of that game because it was that game that led to my victory against you this week. Like those 2 touchdowns by Ayuk, those 2 touchdowns by Kittle, and Debo not getting the ball in the fourth quarter, huge. Like that's what did it for me. So no, but this is what the 49ers look like when firing on all cylinders, and that is incredibly scary. Now, am I saying that are they up there with Philly, with Minnesota? Yeah, actually, I think that that's a team with that offensive talent, that defensive talent that can beat a Philly, that can beat Minnesota, that can go into the playoffs in January and get hot and find themselves in yet another Super Bowl. Now, whether they win it or not, I don't know. This is like the reversal of all the fortune that they had during the 80s. But I think that, McCaffrey is proven to be a quality pickup. Like I said, we were watching the broadcast last night, and they did a parody of Full House, and they did all the different weapons that Jimmy G has. And you look at that, you look at Kittle and Ayuk and Debo and Christian McCaffrey and Ray McLeod, and it's like that. You put any one of them on another team, they change the game for that team. They make that offense better. So, with San Francisco, what you saw was basically the sky's the limit for them.
So here's
if they stay healthy, it's going to be a problem.
So Ben, before you go, I just want to say I do not look at their past record. Like the record before they got Christian McCaffrey almost is kind of obsolete to me. Yeah. Because I think that now that they have Christian McCaffrey and you've seen what this team can do offensively, and that's what they have.
This is what the 49ers are. What we're seeing now are the real San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah. Like this is gonna be like Jimmy G. Still got to give him some credit. Still took this team to a Super Bowl and still was 1 game away from the Super Bowl. So you still got to give the man respect. But Ben, what you got?
Yeah, sorry. Of course, we think 52, 53, 54, however many, just getting 53. We'd have the mute and unmute figured out. Anyways, I really kept it simple on this one. That honestly, like I said, any game we can look at, the 3 of us, 3 people at work, anything, If we really wanted to, we could probably talk about one game, as bad as that game may have been. If we really, really wanted to, we could probably talk about it for an hour. Probably. We could probably make that work. For this game, to me, I want to keep it, KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid. The 49ers roster is significantly better, top to bottom. Easily. Not even close. Number 2, the Cardinals played with Colt McCoy as their quarterback. Now, Colt McCoy has won some games. I don't want to completely diss him. There are some games in the past where his team was not expected to win, and they won. So he has done that. But he's a career backup. He's been a backup for at least 7 years. I think his career is 10 or more longer. And this, I'm going to give one number statistic from this game. The 49ers had 159 rushing yards, which obviously is right up their alley. The Cardinals had 67. That's all I got.
But no, it's real. It's real. I mean, no, that's all. I mean, it's all real facts. So it's going to be very scary to see what the 49ers are going to do. As long as McCaffrey stays healthy, Ayuk, Debo, George Kittle, they got weapons, man. Kyle Shanahan can do some things offensively. Eagles versus Colts. Now, that one was a very interesting one to me because I did not think it was going to be that competitive.
Real quick, Jeff, I was just going to say, you guys hit on that one first. Loop me in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, whenever. You guys talk about it. I'm right here, but you guys go.
Yeah. So, here's my only thing. It's not really from a point of concern, but they lost to Washington, which I think was needed for them. So the pressure of going undefeated is kind of off their backs now. So now that they can kind of just play a little bit more freely. But now that they lost that game last week and then they barely struggled against Indianapolis, Jalen Hurts' numbers has been a little bit up and down, albeit it's 2 games. Now, Gary, do you think that it's a cause for concern as far as you think that they're running out of gas?
I think that every team that's like, this feel-good story that's kind of on the rise hits that bump in the road, and I think Phillies hit their bump in the road. They got beat by Washington. Washington just had the better game plan. I think Ron Rivera's just a hell of a coach in general. And then against Indy, like they should have lost. Like, let's call it what it is. They should have lost that game, but Philly did what Philly does. Jalen Hurts bailed them out, and you can't, all credit to them. Do I have any real levels of concern? No, I think these struggles are it's better that they have these struggles right now than in January, where it's like your margin for error is pretty much gone. They jumped out to the start they jumped out to, and that's only going to help them as far as the standings and as far as like having some semblance of a cushion. But yeah, I think this was a weird week. We all, Ben, you touched upon Lions Giants game, and just a lot of these games that should have been closer, you would think would have gone one way, definitely went the other. And Indy's a good team too. They're not as good as what we thought they would be, but they're good. And they played, toe to toe with Philly for the whole game. And then, they kind of ran out of gas. When you brought that up, saying that's a good phrasing. They ran out of gas, and it's just a matter of let them struggle now instead of around playoff time, where then it's just a disappointment at that point.
Yep, and I think, to be honest, that took a nap analogy works here too. Just Indianapolis couldn't take care of it, couldn't finish the deal. Philly for 3 quarters, maybe even 3.5 quarters, they weren't there. They really weren't there. And then Indianapolis did not take advantage of that. And this is a true story. I'm not 100% sure if it was the beginning of the 4th or end of the 3rd. We're looking at 13-3 was the score of the game. The Colts kicker, again, I'm not 100% sure on the yardage. I think it was exactly 50 yards. It was towards the end of the 3rd or beginning of the 4th. I promise you, my friend, one of the only kids I talked to from high school still to this day, I'll just say his first name, won't say his last name. I don't know if he's listening. His name is Jordan. He's a huge Eagles fan. Huge. Grew up in, anyways, huge Eagles fan. I texted him on Sunday. Immediately after that miss happened, said, "You guys are going to win right now." I didn't even give him a reason. He disagreed, and then they won because the Colts didn't take the long of it is the Colts did not take advantage of Philly literally not being there, not being present, took a nap, whatever you want to say, for at least 3 quarters. They weren't there. Sirianni, probably give him a little bit of credit. Their second-year head coach finally got the message across in the fourth quarter to him, and they scored a couple touchdowns and they won the game. It's the same thing that happened with the Giants, but the Lions took advantage of the Giants napping, and the Colts didn't. Simple to me, those two games are very similar.
I mean, yeah. Hey, that's how it is. I love the passion, man. That's what I love. That's what I love about doing these podcasts, right? So I definitely appreciate perspective. Kind of want to
Hey, Jeff, I'm sorry, buddy. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but I want to start talking about Chiefs Chargers real quick. Partially because, in a way, I'm kind of passionate about this, and I think that we've talked on air and off air about this. So this is going to be repetitive for you. So please just bear with me. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL.
I'm sorry, who?
Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL.
Now,
Okay.
Ben, do you also know that Ben? Real quick, are you aware that grass is green or?
Yes, I'm very aware.
Okay.
Thank you for the analogy. I'm very aware. So the point of me saying that isn't even specific to the Chargers game. In August, it drove me crazy that fans, media, all this, it's like everybody was against Patrick Mahomes because he was too good. Because from what we know, and there's always more, because we thought we knew Tiger Woods. Leave that alone, please. We think we know Patrick Mahomes to be a very good human, a very good teammate, very well spoken. We do know for a fact in interviews he never talks about himself. Never. He gives credit to everybody else, never brags about himself. I respect that about him more than anything else. I never hear him say, "I was great. I did awesome." It's always everybody else. Point is, in August, everybody was coming up with excuses or reasons why Burrow or Lamar or Herbert, throw in any name you want. Maybe the conversation wasn't they are the best quarterback at that time, but it's like everybody, media, fans, everybody was like wanting one of them, whoever it was, wanting either Burrow or Herbert to be the best quarterback. It's like they were trying to talk it into reality when it was never a reality. It honestly bugged the crap out of me in August. I had to get that off my chest.
Hey, thanks for sharing. That's all I can say. Thanks. I love it.
But yeah, Jeff, what do you think about the game specifically? We'll touch on that. Chargers Chiefs.
It's always interesting watching two of these teams play. It's always interesting watching these two teams play. That's all I would say. I'm not going to waste too much breath on the Chiefs and the Chargers for obvious reasons. So I'll leave it at that.
All right. Since you won't, I'll say one last thing. No, I'm sorry, Gary. I didn't mean to cut you off there. Definitely, we want your opinion too. By the way, Travis Kelce, next to Tyreek, which ironically they were obviously teammates, and I haven't fully thought about this, but just come to me now. I think if you could say the most unguardable, and unguardable technically is a little bit different than talented or skilled. I think probably the two most unguardable players in the NFL, Kelce, Tyreek Hill.
Excuse me.
Bless you. And The only thing I'll add is that if they didn't pay attention to what happened to Buffalo during the postseason last year, don't give Patrick Mahomes a lot of time. What you saw is what happens. Like there was nothing shocking about Sunday night. Whoever got the ball last was going to win the game. Who got the ball last? Patrick Mahomes. End of story.
Yeah, I mean, that's real. Let's see, the Mafia cast said had to get switched over to comment Josh Allen is better, just throwing that out there.
Okay, we can say this confidently because we know him at least a little bit, so we can make this joke just the same as he probably doesn't want to admit it, but probably he was getting there. Maybe he wasn't. But no. Just going to say it like that. The answer to what you just said, which, by the way, if anybody can't see it, he said Josh Allen is better than Patrick Mahomes. Actually, to be fair, maybe he's being serious. I don't want to disregard him completely. He may truly believe that, and he's not crazy if he does. He's not crazy. They are extremely talented. Mahomes and Josh Allen, extremely talented. But the quick answer to his comment is no.
Okay, sounds good. So let's kind of get to to the top 10. I'm kind of NFL power rankings. I'm kind of a little bit excited.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the liberty to go first, if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Go for it. You do it. You do it.
All right.
You do it, buddy. Go for it. You do you, buddy. Go. You know what, Jeff? I'll even be nicer. Do me a favor. Go through all 10. Go. You're 10 before me and Gary even comment.
Well, that's what I was going to do anyway. Tell me.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just making sure. Proceed.
I mean, Jesus Lord, the level of disrespect. Anyway, number 1, I got the Eagles. Still at 1, despite a little bit of sluggish play the last 2 weeks. But I still think offensively, right? They're 3rd on offense, 4th on defense, and 4th overall. Right. So pretty impressive numbers. Again, rough patches. Everyone's going to have a little bit of that. Kansas City, but I think that their special teams has been a little bit of an issue. Harrison Butker, who's actually been pretty solid in his career, is having a down year with only 73% field goal with his field goal rate. A little bit concerning. For me, 3, the Buffalo Bills, a little bit concerning is ball security and as well as sluggish offense. I think they really need to be able to get that ball control a little bit better. I'm going to have Miami. It's nothing really to say about Miami. Dallas Cowgirls, nothing really to say about that. But then the Vikings at 8-2. But their pass defense is an issue because they're letting quarterbacks throw the ball, complete 69% of their passes. 69%. Like that's
who's that, Jeff? Is that Minnesota?
Like pass defense, yes.
Okay.
60. You're letting your quarter like that. So they complete almost 7 of 10 passes that they complete almost against it. So I don't know. Ravens 7-3. Just a little bit of the deep ball is a little bit interesting. Lamar Jackson is only connected on just 24% of his passes, at least 20 yards or more, at an 8 of 23. So him not being able to push the ball down the field is a huge concern for me. Then you got San Fran at 6-4, but I'm going to say they're kind of like a 4-0 team with their new weapons. Titans at 9, and then Giants at 10.
Gary, floor is yours. You're 10.
All right. I'm going to go in order now. I'm going to go Kansas City 1. I'm going to go Philly 2. I'm going to go Dallas 3. I'm going to go Buffalo 4. I'm going 49ers 5. I'm going to go Miami 6. Tennessee 7. Baltimore 8. Minnesota 9. And as much as I love my Giants, I'm going to go ahead and put the Cincinnati Bengals in at number 10.
So for anyone who has not listened, first of all, thank you for listening if you are. And for those who have, you know that we made it a point since February, and we've stayed consistent. We're almost in the next year. We do not discuss our opinions before. We just don't. If we're talking about it on the show, we will say, okay, here's what we're going to talk about. We 100% of the time Do not say, here's what I'm going to say, or I feel this, or I feel this. That is extremely intentional, and we are not going to change that. That being said, how it relates, why I looked over here, so I looked over to my sheet, and Gary, 1, 2, 3, we got the same. Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys. And then the next 7 are not the same. So I think the teams actually are, but the order is not. So to be clear, 1, 2, 3, me and Gary both have Chiefs, Eagles, Cowboys. My round out the top 5, I've got Miami at 4. And I actually want to explain a little bit after, but let me get through the 10. I have the Dolphins at number 4, which is probably a surprise. They're on my list right now. And I want to say right now because it's November 22nd. This is the list as of November 22nd at 10:06 p.m. Okay. Dolphins 4, Bills 5, Ravens 6, Vikings 7, 49ers 8, Titans 9, Bengals 10. So a real quick explanation. I tonight did these specifically this way. If these teams, right, Mafia Cast is not too happy. I like it. And let me explain because maybe, no promises, but maybe you'll at least understand. So here we are. I did these 10 teams. I stood consistent with this tonight. I did these 10 teams. If 1 played 7, if 2 played 8,
Can't see your
3
paper.
played 6. I did that on purpose.
Okay.
That's fine. If 1 played 7, 3 played 6, and the field was completely neutral, and to even more to take out home field completely, no fans are there. Let's go back to 2020 for a second. There's no fans. You match up these teams today as they are currently aligned today. Stressing the word today because I want to make that clear. With the healthy and unhealthy players right now. My 10 is based on that. So I say that to say this. I don't think the Dolphins are a better team at the end of the year than the Bills. I just don't. Right now, I can say that they are, and my logic for that is simple. Tua has started 7 games. Tua has finished 7 games. Miami's 7-0, those 7 games. So not only because of that, but that's one of the reasons right now I got Buffalo at number 5, Miami at 4. If you are asking me, change this completely, what do you expect in January? These numbers, these lists, it's not the same. It's just not. I'm just explaining how I personally did it. I'm not saying Jeff did it wrong. I'm not saying Gary did it wrong. Power rankings are fun because everyone uses a different way to get to your power rankings. For me, these 10 teams, if they played right now with their current health, who wins? Neutral field, no fans. That's how I did my 10.
I mean, no, that's real, man. No, that's real. Most definitely. Definitely. So, let me just kind of just
Wait, let me just sorry, Jeff. Mafia Cast, you've said about 4 things, and we are highly appreciative that you have. And I want to just respond here to see, now that you heard the explanation, do you not agree necessarily, but do you understand? And we'll give him a little bit of time to respond, see if he's still fully there. We don't know connection issues, etc. Do you understand why right now Miami is 4, Buffalo is 5? Respond in the chat if you understand why right now I got Miami over Buffalo. We'll let that simmer for a little bit, and we'll continue.
You asking me a question?
No. You know I wasn't asking you the question.
I don't know.
No, I'm asking Mafia
what are we
the
doing?
question. No, my buddy, I'm trying to tell you. I was acknowledging what Mafia Cast said and posing a question directly to him. And luckily, he has responded, so we will go from there. So I was asking him. So shall we? You want to move forwards to the next one, or Gary or Jeff? Anything to say on power rankings? Anything else?
All I'm just gonna say is that I think the Vikings. I am going to believe the Vikings just a little bit, that they might just be kind of serious, not to win it,
Okay,
but to actually be there in the conversation.
I'm with
That's
you.
what I'd say.
I'm with you. I like it. Gary, anything you want to add?
Yes,
The
of course, Jeff.
power rankings.
No, you made good. Everybody made good points. Their power rankings are what they are. I mean, we all have the same 10 teams in it, so the order is going to change as the season progresses. So
Yeah. So I mean that's just it is what it is. So let's kind of continue this thing on, guys. Probably
Let's
one of my
go.
ones is and whoever that Facebook user is. So whoever comments on Facebook, your names don't show up. It just comes up as Facebook user. But this Facebook user said Jets rankings are the best. Well, duh, of course.
Be humble, why don't you, kid?
I am humble. I'm just saying.
So Jeff, let me ask you a question
Yeah.
before we fully go to fantasy football, because I know Gary, I know Jeff, and I know me. We love fantasy football. Love, 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 love. Before we get to start sit, because that's what we're going to do for anyone who's now watching or listening, we are going to go through every single game, which, by the way, this week, Thanksgiving week, whatever the reason, every NFL team plays. So we are going to give you one player to start, one player to sit for every single game. Before we go there, I'm going to time myself just for fun. It's about to hit 42 minutes right now. I'll be done before 44. 2 tips. Anybody who does fantasy football, anybody. We don't know who's listening. We don't know if you've done it for a year, 10 years, 15 years. 2 free tips, and I'm going to give specific examples. And for those of you who are in leagues with me, which these 2 gentlemen are, you can use this information and flip it on its head and use it against me. I don't care. I'm just trying to help. I'll be very quick. Number 1, if you have a quarterback, let's go with that has a bye week and you need another quarterback. I'm going to give a specific name so it's easy. Week 10 happened. Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow had bye weeks. Most people, not everyone, and I'm not saying these people are wrong. Don't take it this way if this is what you did or you do. Most people go to Wednesday of week 10, which is basically standard waivers, or, well, Tuesday they do it, Wednesday they see if it works or not. Waivers go through Wednesday. They try and add a quarterback, and they'll probably, maybe try to add 2 or 3 and see what they get. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want a better way to do it, grab a quarterback the week or the week before. For me personally, week 8, I knew Lamar has a bye week 10. I grabbed Justin Fields. Let's be honest, a little bit of luck. It was a waiver, but I got him. I had Justin Fields week 8. Don't need to explain that any further. Number 2, and I think I'm going to go slightly over by about 30 seconds, but forgive me. Number 2, free tip. You have a bench player that, let's just say, I don't know, let's use 5 weeks as an example. Whatever week in the season that is. Could be weeks 1 through 5, 6 through 10, doesn't matter. 5-week sample size. For those 5 weeks, he's on your bench every single week. Every week he is not contributing to winning or losing for your team. He's just not. I'm going to give a specific example for this year. Alexander Madison. He's the back, for those who don't know, he's the second running back for the Minnesota Vikings. And he's very, very talented. Very talented. This year, you absolutely have not been able to start him. No way possible. Okay, so if you have Tampa Bay defense, who, let's say this week, Tampa Bay, this work with me. Tampa Bay defense is playing the Chiefs this week, Kansas City. Next week, they're playing the Texans. Okay, so most rational people would, that may be offensive. Most people would not start the Tampa Bay defense this week if they're playing the Chiefs. Most people. You, in this scenario, add the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. For this week, again, work with me. If they're playing the Chiefs this week, they are on your bench. They're getting you 0 points, whether they score 50 or they get -5. Next week, you're starting them against the Texans. Now, why do you do that? Because you solved a lineup problem for yourself for next week by doing something that is really smart that most people will not do, because most people will not add a defense in a terrible matchup. Any defense versus the Chiefs is a terrible matchup. I said my piece. Go for it, Jeff.
I don't even know where to go. No, man. No, it's all real. It's all real stuff. Like I don't know where to go. To be honest with you, I really don't. I don't. I just don't. Is it okay? We go to start and sit.
Are we still on the air?
I'm on mute. Jeff,
I
real
mean,
quick.
Ben, I gotta be honest with you, buddy.
Be honest.
You are very long-winded today.
Okay.
Lord, I'm
okay.
like.
So let's do this. Let's go even faster than we planned. 15 seconds or less. Your record in your biggest money league. Go, Jeff. Go.
2-9. 2-9.
Gary.
Yeah.
6-5.
10-1.
Oh.
Okay. Yes. Let's go to start sit.
Sounds good. But it's all love, Ben. It's
absolutely.
Absolutely. You know I have to do that. I'm gonna give Gary a hard time soon. It's coming. Don't forget, Ivana the Miller is coming back.
Oh boy! I'm just gonna pretend that there was earwax and I didn't hear Von Miller's name. That's what I'm gonna pretend.
So let's get to start sit right for Week 12 games. So each of us have our assigned games. So we'll give it kind of like 1 minute to kind of explain start sit for that specific game. So we can do stats. It could be a gut feeling. Anything we can provide a little reason as to why. Gary, I'm gonna give you the floor first.
Okay, so I'll start with the game that is near and dear to both mine and Ben's heart, Dallas and the Giants, which is turned into a true primetime matchup on Thanksgiving Day. 2 7-3 teams battling for second place in the NFC East. You can't beat that at all. It's gonna be a good game. As far as start sit, for start, it's pretty obvious. I would go Tony Pollard for the Cowboys. I think that Zeke is, he'll give you your yards here and there, but Tony Pollard's been the workhorse, and I think that as much as I love my Giants defense, I think that they've been susceptible to run as of late, and I think that that'll continue in Dallas. I'm hoping for a much closer matchup, though. And then first sit, I'm going to go Dallas again, and I'll go Zeke. I think that Zeke will get you a few style points here and there, but nothing that's going to be worth keeping in your starting lineup.
All right. I like it. So we're actually going to match on the start, which, by the way, just proves my point for anyone who hasn't listened. We do not talk about this before the episode. My start is the same as Gary's, Tony Pollard. My sit is actually one name you probably aren't starting, and then one name you probably have to. Daniel Jones, just because of some injuries and all of that, you may be considering starting Daniel Jones. Don't do that. Saquon Barkley, he's an amazing player. You drafted him probably in the first 3 rounds. You have to play him. You have to. Don't get cute and not start Saquon. That goes for any superstar people. If he's a superstar, he plays. Simple as that. On Saquon, I think there's a possibility he just doesn't get his projected points. And I'll leave it at that.
Saquon is interesting. Saquon's been very, very interesting. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Knock on wood. Definitely. Gary, do you have anything? I don't think he did.
We might have lost him for a bit.
All right, so I'll go to my games here.
Yeah, go to Bills Lions and then you know what? Just I think we talked about this, Jeff, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating this, but you've got a list of games. Gary does, I do. Let's just go through your entire list.
Yeah, man, let's do it.
You were probably gonna do that, so I apologize, but go for it.
Actually, I wasn't. I'm kidding.
Anyways, go through your
Yeah,
whole list.
so,
Go.
Bills versus Lions. I'm sitting Gabe Davis. I think he's a little bit too streaky for me. A lot of his catches are more so 4 receptions for like 100 yards. Average deep ball will be like 35. It'd be like 35 yards per reception. So I'm going to sit him. I'm going to start Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you'd asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have said no because he's been injured a little bit, been dinged up, but now that he's back, seems to be back healthy. For Patriots versus Vikings, I'm going to sit Mac Jones just because he's Mac Jones and I don't trust him. But I'm going to start Justin Jefferson because he's Justin Jefferson. Need I say more? Broncos versus Panthers, I'm sitting Russell Wilson. That man ain't cooking. He ain't doing anything for us.
Wait, Jeff, really quick. If Russell Wilson is still on your fantasy team and it is not a 2-quarterback league or a super flex league, I don't know what you're doing. He should not be rostered in 1 QB leagues.
Absolutely not.
Keep going. Sorry, I couldn't let that go.
Points, I mean, you're literally averaging 14 points a game. That's not necessarily showing a lot of confidence. Chargers, Cardinals. I'm going to start Justin Herbert, and I'm sitting any receiver from Arizona. That's simple. Raiders versus Seahawks. I'm sitting David Carr, but I'm going to start Kenneth Walker. Need I say more? Packers versus Eagles. I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, I'm going to sit Aaron Rodgers. Yes, he had a decent, cute little outing last week, but I'm sitting him, and then I'm starting my brother from another mother, Jalen Hurts. I mean, that's pretty much.
Hey, Gary. Thanks for coming back. We know you had a little difficulties. I know we talked about this, but just to be clear for right now, go through your list of games. Your start sit every game.
All right, so we're gonna go Bucks Broncos, Bucks Browns. For that game, I'm starting Amari Cooper. He's been low key consistent with Jacoby Brissett. I think he's been a good safety valve for him. He's been worth the points. For the sit, I'm going to sit Tampa Tom. I love him, but he's too inconsistent for my blood. Texans Dolphins. I mean, really take your pick with who you start with from Miami. I mean, you could go Tua, you could go Tyreek Hill, you could go Jalen Waddle. I think that's going to be a field day for them. And then as far as sit, if you're starting anybody in Houston or from Houston, then your record probably is somewhere deep under 500 as it is. So, sorry. Falcons versus the Commanders. I'm going to start the Commanders defense. They had a monster game last Sunday. I think they're going to keep that momentum going. Atlanta's good, but they're not that good. As far as sitting, Kyle Pitts is low-hanging fruit, so I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to probably then say you probably sit Marcus Mariota, and then Saints versus 49ers. You start Alvin Kamara because that's pretty much it for New Orleans at this point. I mean, 49ers, we just talked about all the weapons that they have. You take your pick there as far as starting. But as far as a sit, Andy Dalton, just the fact that I'm saying Andy Dalton's starting quarterback in 2022 speaks volumes. So you sit the Red Rocket, and that's my list there.
Gary, I just have to say that you were on fire for that. That was amazing. That's hard to combat, but I have to. So Bengals Titans is my first game. Treylon Burks, he's going to be somebody that he's not on a lot of fantasy teams right now, and starting tomorrow at about 4 a.m. whenever your waivers process, he's going to be on a lot of teams. And I agree with adding him. I don't think you can play him this week. The reason, the Bengals coaches are very smart. They know what they're doing. They're going to say, you're not beating us. Point blank. Start. If Mixon is out, which at this point I don't think is a fact. But if he is, you start their backup, P. Ryan, 100% with confidence. Bears Jets. They're going to say some. These two, I think, are not going to be popular. I'm going to give some explanation real quick. You start Garrett Wilson. Here's the reason, and this is a gut call more than anything else. I have no knowledge. Don't talk to anybody on the Jets. Don't have any friends that are Jets fans. My gut is telling me that his frustration in the locker room after the game, which we know he was very frustrated, I think the coaches and the quarterback is going to actually kind of spin that in a positive way and say, listen, you're a rookie. We believe in you. We may not agree with how you said that, but we're going to give you the ball because you're a first-round pick. It's just a gut feeling. That's all it is. Darnell Mooney is my sit. Justin Fields is amazing. Sauce Gardner, can't think of his first name right now. Fill me in, guys, if you want to say.
Ahmad.
Okay, Sauce Gardner, he is a rookie cornerback for the New York Jets. There's an argument to be made. He's one of the best 10 corners in the league right now as a rookie. And that is a very hard position to learn. He is going to follow Mooney everywhere he goes. Point blank. And Justin Fields is hurt as of this moment. We have no idea if he's going to play or not. So, Mooney, stay away. Ravens, Jags. Trevor Lawrence. You may be thinking about starting him. You know, he's been decent. Inconsistent, but the Ravens' pass defense for the first 6 weeks or so was absolutely horrible. Trash. I'm not going to say it's elite. I'm not even going to say it's good. It's a lot better than it was. And I think that Doug Peterson is a good coach because he did win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. Okay. I think he's going to say, we actually have a better chance if we get ETN the ball and we run with him and we get him involved more so than we do beating them in the pass. And then this is also going to be wacky and another gut call because he has actually stunk up the joint 2 games in a row. So bear with me while I say you should start him. Devin Duvernay. The last 2 games, he has 2 catches total. All right, so why the heck is he on my start list? A, you might be desperate. At flex, you might not have any better options. And coaching. I think the Ravens understand Duvernay has some skill, has some talent. When he does get the ball, because I'm not looking at the target numbers right now, but when he gets it, he usually makes plays. I think his production will increase. Ravens, Chiefs. I'm going to be very clear on the sit. Rams running backs. Do not start anyone. Don't care who it is. Don't do it.
Who's left?
Don't do it. That's exactly the point. I don't even know who's left. They've cut 2 people. They cut Henderson and didn't they cut somebody else this week too? I know Henderson's gone. But anyways, don't start a Rams running back this week. Just don't do it. Even if your other 4 running backs are hurt, I promise you somebody on waivers is better than any Rams running back right now. I can guarantee you. The Rams offensive line is horrible. Start Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I think that, again, going to coaching, I think the Rams are going to say, Jalen Ramsey, where Kelsey goes, you go. And I think that with the Mecole Hardman injury, and now, of course, Kadarius Toney is hurt because he's got his annual injury. I think Valdez-Scantling gets more targets than he has been. So my start for that one was Valdez-Scantling. Hey, might have been on mute, but Jeff, I was just going to ask you a question.
Hey, what's up?
Do you have a question or two for me and Gary? Any question?
Any question? You know,
Let's just keep it going for like another 5 minutes. Throw out a question. Let's have some fun.
Let's see. how concerned should we really be about the Bills? Because here's why. I said in a couple episodes that they struggle in close games. They have. I mean,
Yeah,
concern.
absolutely. Yeah, I would go with you there that let's play a 1 to 10 game. I'd say I'm probably about a 3. And I say that it kind of circles back to one of the first things I said about the Cowboys. 1996 was the last time they made a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. Buffalo Bills have never won a Super Bowl. And I realized most of the players on these teams, on the Bills team, didn't have anything to do with that. Nothing to do with it. But that and the fact that if Josh Allen doesn't run the ball and run the ball well, they can't run the ball. Not consistently. I want to clarify, actually. I just thought of that in my head. Devin Singletary is actually a really good player. He's a really good player. But the fact is, their rushing yards, if you take away, if you went game by game, we're not going to do this now, but if you went game by game, and you took away Josh Allen's rushing yards, that has to be concerning because that matters in January. Gary, you with us? What do you think on the Bills, buddy?
I'm here. Hold on.
All right, you good? You good? Go for it, buddy.
So, as far as a level of concern, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say probably a 4. I think, they've played down to opponents that they should have just blown out the water, I think.
Yeah.
And even though the Jets season is kind of up in the air and there's a little bit of turmoil despite their record, that loss to the Jets is kind of ugly when you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like this is a team that at the start of the season was the sexy pick from everybody, not only to make it to the Super Bowl but to win the Super Bowl. You had Josh Allen for MVP left and right. Like it hasn't manifested itself the way that it should have. And you worry about, is this going to be yet another year of a playoff disappointment for Buffalo? And I mean, if they don't start playing a little bit more sharp, then we could be talking about this team in January as being one of the great what ifs.
Being a great regular season team and then not doing it in the playoffs.
And like you were in on McCaffrey and didn't get it done. Now, if he ends up going to the Super Bowl or winning with San Francisco, they're going to look back at that and go, "Damn, we should have done more to get him here."
Yeah, that's absolutely a phenomenal take for real. And now, as long as y'all are cool with it, let's go. Gary, you ask a question, me and Jeff, and then we'll end. And I'll ask a question, and then we've all asked a question. So, Gary, Go for it, buddy. Spur of the moment, whatever comes to mind.
It's a real simple question. Who wins this Sunday, Dallas or the Giants? Objectively. I'm going to start with you, Jeff, first.
Go for it. Yeah, Jeff, go.
I'm going to say the Giants because they're going to shock the world.
I respect it. I'm going to say the Cowboys. But if we're using that same 1 to 10 scale, you ask me the confidence in that pick, I'd probably be at like a 6. And the reason is very simple. I do not trust the Dallas coaching staff until they prove me otherwise. It's as simple as that. And I'll expand upon it a tiny bit. This, I don't think I've said to you guys, so this may be a little bit of a surprise. What has driven me crazy for probably 5 years of the Dallas Cowboys, more than anything else, and there's a lot, right? There's a lot. What has probably driven me the most crazy is Kellen Moore. There are weeks that, as Jeff, you watch Broncos, Gary, you watch Giants, I can confidently say about at least 85% of the Dallas Cowboys plays, I either watch live or I record the game and I watch it after the fact. Kellen Moore, at times, looks like the best offensive coordinator in the league.
At times.
Exactly, at times. But there will be a game where I'm like, I don't think anybody could have stopped us today. They're not consistently like that, but it does happen. So if he can do that, which he has a couple of times, and I'd throw in this Minnesota game as one of the great game plans he had. Why is that just once in a while? And then sometimes you look like a bottom 5 offensive coordinator. I don't get it. I don't think any Cowboys fan does. And unfortunately, obviously, we will never know the answer. But more than anything else over the last 5 years, that is the biggest frustration for me on the Cowboys.
So I think
So that's why I said 6. I don't know if I answered. I said Cowboys. My confidence scale was only a 6 out of 10.
Okay. So I think part of the question becomes like just how hungry the Cowboys are going to be after beating the shit out of Minnesota.
I'm glad you said that because we're looking at teams, and I'm sorry, Gary, I didn't mean to cut you off, but we're looking at teams that are, if we're going from Sunday to Thursday, the exact opposite happened. Exact. Dallas played a perfect game. Game. Please, anybody who listens after the fact, game. One game. Start to finish, Dallas was perfect. That's just what it is. The Giants, on the flip side, they played pretty bad. That's just bottom line. They were never really in that game. Detroit was either in the lead or in control the majority of the game. Right, Gary?
That interception by Aiden Hutchinson really kind of changed the entire momentum.
Okay. That's why I asked you, because I didn't watch it in full. So that's why I wanted to ask you. But at the end of the day, the result the Giants had and the result Dallas had, exactly the opposite. So what I'm afraid of as a Cowboys fan, which goes to why I'm at a 6, I don't trust the Dallas coaching staff. Because what players, any player, us on our co-ed rec league teams, let's say, if we beat a team 30-0, I don't know, whatever sport, the next time we play them as human beings, we are going to be overconfident. It's just what the reality is. We are all humans. Athletes are all humans. Point is, I'm sorry for going on. I'm just continuing for the 3 of us. I'm personally having fun, so that's the only reason I suggested it. Just being fully clear. And I'll ask my question after this, and then we can kumbaya. Unless y'all want to keep it going. But oh boy, where was my train of thought? Fill me in. What was the last thing I said, fellas? I think
you were talking about your confidence level and
coaching staff.
Staff, yes.
So, as human beings, we can say pretty confidently 50%, I think that's a generous or fair number, 50% of the Cowboys players are smelling themselves. They think after that game, we are the best. Nobody can beat us. We're the best. It's one of the coaching staff's main responsibilities from Sunday until Thursday at 4:30 or 4:25, whatever it is. Turn that around like completely to that game was 5 days ago. Everything that happened in that game, and I said it that way on purpose because it's one of the reasons Belichick and the Patriots have been so successful for as long as they are, even though I despise him and I despise them. They're the only team over the last 20, 25 years that, and still to this day, even though they haven't had as much success, They change their game plan every single week. Every week. And we got to give credit's due. I hate them, but they do. That every week it's a different game plan, which makes it extremely frustrating in fantasy if you have Patriots players. Just what it is. The point is, to me, the main job Dallas coaches have between now and Thursday, we have to pretend and we have to convince you that the Minnesota game did not happen. Didn't happen. It doesn't exist. I know that sounds crazy, but that's literally their main job to me between now and Thursday. Convince the entire team that what you did against Minnesota is completely irrelevant on Thursday against the Giants. Because it is. For being fully honest, everything that happened in that Minnesota game and everything that happened in the Giants-Lions game, none of it matters on Thursday. What do you think, Gary? Did you agree with that?
I agree, and I'm going to say Giants 23, Cowboys 20.
I can respect it. Our prediction is honestly almost exactly the same, which is ironic. Mine's 24-20 Dallas. It's like right there. One question, fellas. Let me throw one at you, and then we'll have a good night. Everybody will have a good night. So I am going to go with, is it possible? I know we talked about it, and it might be an easy question, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Is it possible that the Kansas City Chiefs right now are somehow, some way, for whatever reason, being disrespected, not by us, because I think we all had them at either 1 or 2 in the power rankings, but like there seems to be a level of disrespect, or maybe we're tired of them. We don't want them to win, and because we're tired of them, we're not going to give them credit even when they deserve credit. So it just feels like to me there's like a Chiefs, like, we don't want them to win, so let's come up with excuses on why they won't. Let me get your guys' perspective.
There you go.
I don't think it's a matter of being disrespected. I think I equate the Chiefs to the Warriors in the NBA. There's almost a little bit of a exhaustion, because it's the same thing year after year after year after year after year. So like, I think it's more that. I think it's more we want to see a different. That's why people rallied behind Cincinnati last year. They want to see a different face. We want to see parity. We talk about parity all the time, and then we get stuck with dynasties, and then we get tired of it, and then that's kind of what happens. And I think that's where we are. So we are at a point of exhaustion with the Chiefs, or they're like the Warriors or the Spurs. Like you got tired of the consistency with them. So when there's a little bit of a dent in their armor, when they're not as good as they've been in years past, it's almost like, good. Let's see who's going to step up and take that spot from them, at least for this year. Saying all that, they're still the best team in the AFC, in my opinion, and the road to the Super Bowl goes through them. So,
I mean, Gary took the words right out of my mouth.
Sometimes when you get great sports minds alike, you listen to an answer, you're like, shit. I got nothing.
I got nothing. Exactly.
I got nothing. And that's what just happened. So Gary, in sincerity, great answer, because Jeff had no response.
Yes.
There you go.
Indeed. But hey, guys, this has been fun. Episode 53. Let's kind of continue this rolling on the march to episode 100. We're a couple months out from that one. Probably spring, maybe. I don't know.
Most likely, yeah.
Hey, man, let's just let's keep the good times rolling. Yeah. Let's have conversations outside of this on, and Jeff, I'm trusting right now you're going to edit this. So can I continue, or do you want me to stop talking? Because I got to stop talking if you're going
Yeah,
to.
probably. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, no, the voice part. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Jeff, and we're going to trust you, me and Gary are, and I know this and I mean this sincerely. You need to go to a minute 14 and however many seconds, whatever it is, take that shit out. I'm only saying that way to be funny, sort of. But Jeff texted me during the episode, and then also somewhat, during the episode, let's be honest, he was probably surprised, and Gary, you probably were too. I was a little bit different than I had been. And Jeff, you alluded to it on the broadcast, and then you texted me. And by the way, I'm glad that you did. Seriously. Sincerely. The reason, and me and Gary, just to loop you in, because I wanted to make sure that you know this as well. Me and Jeff did have a little conversation about this is how I presented it to him. And I think this is true. The three of us, we all, every episode, whether you write it down, you got it in your brain, however you do it, you, and you, what we say, we are extremely knowledgeable. Like sincerely, we all have like great knowledge of these topics. Now, that is true, and we've actually heard other people say it. For example, Gina has said something similar. Joe, LP, those guys have said something similar to that, which means I'm not being overconfident in saying it. Other people have said it. So me and Jeff were just talking, and I just said, let's take, I don't know, August to now, whatever. We got people that really like us, that really do listen to us. And we got people that don't listen to us because they don't know that we exist. Literally. So then, and I said this to Jeff too, I'm like, I started in January on Twitter. My thought, or how I thought that I was taught, or whatever. I will say that Sage and Zeke, despite Zeke blocking me, which is a funny story for another day. I don't want to get off topic. They gave me a lot of good advice. And for the most part, I used it. And what's crazy, Jeff, you can relate. Gary, you can too. Aren't there times in your life, at least once, where you can be like, shit, I thought of that idea at 4 a.m. And I think it's a really good idea. That's kind of what happened between, what's today, Wednesday? No, today's Tuesday. So last night, going to bed till this morning, I got about probably 2 hours of sleep. And the easiest way I explained it to my wife before in detail, I said, because I know how she is, I'm going to say this somewhat quietly, she's asleep, but when I tell her, I got 3 hours of sleep, her first response is, why? What's wrong? Why are you anxious? What are you stressed? Normal human response. And I said, no. This was exactly the opposite. This was the random scenario where I didn't sleep, and it was because my mind was racing all over the place, but it was productive. Because as I said to Jeff, I am a heavy analyzer and a heavy performer. Simplistic terms, that means I am extremely competitive. I want to win at everything all the time, which is true. And it means that I overanalyze the shit out of everything. And that is also true. I took a behavioral test for my new job at work. I don't need to go into more details, but that's on the quadrants or whatever. The two highest numbers, performer, analyzer, which means I answered that damn thing honestly, because that's what it is. So specific to us in the podcast, I'm like, all right, so, and this probably took a solid 2 hours to get to this conclusion. Not that it matters, but we got great content. We know what the we're talking about. But without looking at the pure numbers, August till now, the people who listen, the people who watch, the numbers are about the same. You following me so far?
Yes.
Because I'm not trying to dominate the conversation. But I'm just trying to explain.
And my laptop is dying. That's what I'm saying. We need to end this now because it's going to cut off, and then that's it.
All right.
I was putting that in the chat.
Yeah, we gotta.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you this because you're about to be gone. Well, now he is gone. So we need to have that conversation. I need to finish that conversation. Let's in the group chat. Let's make a time. This weekend, like 15 minutes. That's all we need. Let's talk about what me and you talked about.
All right, sounds good, sir.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Later, dude.
That's a wrap for tonight's episode. I want to thank all of our supporters. Stay tuned. Be easy.